And I'm thinking, no way would you play on my mind and go and start waving bye-bye.
We had a long chat about festivals.
Yes.
And we carefully navigated round the big one that we actually really want to talk about.
It's a different camp in itself.
Yes.
Excuse the pun.
Literally, yeah, great. So let's chat about FoundTown.
The FoundTowns.
The FoundTowns.
Are we're gonna attempt to talk about all three?
We're going for all three.
Three FoundTowns.
Yeah. Well, is it three? Is it four?
Oh, you crazy? What?
Well, let's establish early doors.
So,
FoundTown 1.
yeah.
2019. We're in
2019.
agreement?
Yes.
Yeah. Then there would have been one planned for 2020.
FoundTown that never was. Oh, good point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which then got postponed to 21, which we really did make clear plans for.
Yeah.
Which then became 22.
Oh, so we've got a shifty FoundTown in the middle.
But was there a 2020, or was it always?
No, to me
Year
there was
on,
never
year
gonna
off.
be yeah, I mean,
I
no,
don't
the plan
know.
was to, I'm not sure it ever got to,
That was before my time.
we never quite decided how regular, because it was busting up for the first one,
Yeah.
and then it was okay, let's roll it out for the next year. Obviously, the world was hit, and we couldn't, it was very obvious, to me, 2020,
Yeah.
no way that could happen. 2021 was brave, brave to even attempt to
Yeah.
like publicise that, I think. And I remember making the poster that said like, but then we just postponed it to 2022. So it kind of
Let's
was
go
just
with
one
three.
thing. Yeah.
Because we don't know if 2020 for sure.
No. That's
So,
not that one.
FoundTown 1.
That one was the biggest hurdle, arguably, in my life.
2019. I could tell you the date. 31st of August.
Well done.
2019. So the only reason I know that is because I was nothing to do with the band at this point. I'd been to a few gigs here and there, and I had bought tickets for my friend's birthday on the 1st of September, but it was hit and miss whether we were going to come because the end of the month in my old job was stocktake.
Okay.
And stocktake of August, bank holiday, busiest stocktake of the year, and we would sit at the zoo until the middle of the night getting this stocktake done.
Okay.
But we made a conscious effort. We were like, oh, if we get there, we get there. I don't think we rocked up in work uniform. I'd like to think we got changed, hopefully, but we did come straight from work.
Yeah.
And we literally arrived
So what
as
time?
we went on stage.
What time? Oh, so you came just for the...
There wasn't even anyone on the gate. And that's what
Oh,
I
was that
consciously
late?
remember
You didn't need to
thinking,
pay.
we kind of waltzed in,
By that point.
and you were going straight on stage. So as far as FoundTown 1 is concerned,
You only got...
I saw nothing. I literally saw you on stage.
Oh, I was going to ask you what you thought of more of the day, because that's really interesting from my side,
No.
is to see what a ticket goer would have experienced.
No.
Because I knew the back seat behind
Yeah.
the scenes.
I remember walking back. So obviously we walked up. It's the same site as it always has been, and we walked on stage. And I remember 3 years later, FoundTown 3.
Yeah.
Not remembering a thing,
Oh, really?
and it was all like it was new to me
Okay.
because
okay.
I missed it all, and it was just pitch black, obviously, when
Yeah.
we left on the first time.
Yeah, of course.
So FoundTown 1.
Oh my god.
Let's go.
Wow. Well, it was, and there, I don't know if you've seen the last episode, there's me saying a really good festival's made by a really good organisation. To give ourselves credit, there was, for what we were, and it was the first festival, there was actually it was reasonably organised. There were things where it was like, okay, I remember the months leading up, and you've always got this encroaching date, like 31st of August, it's getting closer. But we had given it due care and diligence in the months leading up. And I remember all these conversations about everything outside of like the bit I knew, which would, I'm going to say my expertise would be playing at the end, playing the actual gig, and sort of set and prop building is where I'd say like that's what I can do. I'm going to make a point, set and prop design building, not full on architecture and full on constructions, but we'll get to that. To be fair, there was all the other things that you need at a festival to be thought about. and we had it wasn't just the band, it was also the guy that actually owns the land, who also owns a venue in Canterbury called Simon, who's brilliant, and his wife Toya, she was also brilliant. So it was a kind of, there was like a committee involved.
Yes.
And I remember we'd go and meet up for long breakfasts, but really it was all to kind of chat and talk about, right, where are we having camping? Where's the parking layout? Who do we need? What are the other things like St John's ambulance and lighting and emergency stuff?
Licensing,
all of that.
And just to also say, you said committee.
Yeah.
Raf.
Yeah.
Because his background, as much as we can class him as band at this time, his whole background is
he was a
festival
massive
setups, event planning, and this is his ballgame.
Exactly. So that's a really good point. And when I'm thinking of that first year, it's just funny the characters you're remembering. And Raf he was so instrumental to a huge amount, and he loved it, and he wanted. I hope he remembers it fondly. But there is always that level of stress, because getting closer to the deadline, a festival, there is so much to try and do. There is so much pressure, because you're promising quite a lot. We went in with this idea of, a dilapidated town that's lost in the woodland, and I remember even right at the beginning, we were trying to think of just a name, and I can't remember some of the options. That would have been really interesting to remember those, but we banded around names for quite a while, and then I actually came up with FoundTown.
Hey.
I came up with FoundTown, and it was like, really, I'm not sure, which I understood, and then we kind of came back, and it was one of those things of like, let's just go with that. It's fine. It says what it does in the tin, it's good. And the other thing I would say is in my remit is branding, which I was actually always very proud of that. The branding we did for FoundTown. I did for FoundTown. But no, it was just, it's one of those things, it pushes everyone to the limits of what they feel they're capable of.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's really good, and sometimes you watch people break.
Yes.
And I remember watching a few of us break, and I broke.
Yeah. I think it's very nice, sort of almost jumping ahead, but as a general, like you say, it is about how it's organised.
Yeah.
And the fact that for 5 of you, well, and Raf,
and
you come from the background of knowing what you need as an artist.
Yes.
And that is a big thing.
Huge. Yeah.
And then when people like Raf and Simon can bring on their knowledge
expertise
of, well, we know what's expected from selling it to the public side, you have ticked.
And a legitimised policy as well.
Yeah, definitely.
No, that's true. That is, and actually, you're right. We were definitely thinking. We knew it had to be fantastic for the public, but of course, exactly that. Us being us, we were like, well, we need people to be able to drop their equipment right backstage, behind the stage. Yeah. We want their backstage to be good. We want their everything, but also for the ticket go.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. But there was a lot of, actually, the other thing with festivals, and I know from experience of talking to the people that did Lounge and Farm, there is always a huge amount of favour pulling you have to do. Well, especially if it's your first one.
Yeah.
Like, to get something that is going to be a big success, you often don't have a huge budget to begin with. Like, it's got to kind of pay for itself after the event. And that is the other thing that adds pressure, because you kind of, some things are definitely paid for and you can't, they just have to be paid for. Some things you kind of say, would you like to get involved? It'd be really, you're kind of selling this, it will be really fun thing.
Yes. Yeah.
And that, to an extent, that's true. And it was really true. But also, there's always these hazy lines of, do they feel they've been mugged off? Or, and I don't know how everyone felt at the end of, I know how the band members all felt at the end of FoundTown, but we had a girl that was brought on to do the camping for the, children's camping.
Yep.
Riley with the bell tents. And so I think she dived straight into it, like most of them. And people like food members, actually, I think for the first year, it was, I don't know, they come along, they can get business, so there's a kind of a tit for tat thing there, but it's, so where are we at? We've done all the initial organising and the mapping out.
Yep.
And we've, what do you say, spitballed? Brainstormed ideas for events. I remember someone saying, you know, we should have sunrise yoga, and
Yeah, it was more than just an evening of music.
yeah, it
Yeah.
had to have like, I think there were workshops for children and stuff,
Yeah.
and we kind of made a point of putting that on posters, and food, music, drink, dancing, and other stuff like.
Trying to think, was FoundTown
Mm-hmm.
one day of music, one evening of music? You headlined the night, and then
yeah.
people could stay, but there wasn't a second evening.
Oh, that's
Is that right?
That's a really good question. I can't remember.
Okay.
I think
might
there
be
were
wrong.
two. I think there
Was
might
it
have been 2 days. Oh,
Don't know. No,
no, can't remember.
Can't remember.
How bad is that? Can't remember. Anyway, yeah. No, see, it's massive things like that. I can't believe. I made the posters for it, but I've made so many posters.
Well, yeah, and
Throughout
you've
the
done
time,
it
and I
again
can't-
since.
Yeah, and I'm now.
I just wondered what the
using
growth was from 1 to 2,
It
because
might-
2 was 2 nights.
Yeah.
Music.
Oh well, if anyone's watching and if they went, let us know.
Yeah.
Because heavily
We'll
involved
have
in
to
it.
scroll back
Can't
through.
remember.
So the idea was
Yeah.
it was almost a musical retreat,
Yeah, and
if you will.
slightly sort of steampunk-esque or punky with that kind of dilapidated grunginess to it, which was always quite cool. But yeah, so right. No. The biggest thing, right, I'm just trying to think. The moments where people were breaking.
Okay, go on.
'Cause-
We
'cause
love it.
Right at the start, everyone's like, everyone's outlined, you know, who's kind of in charge roughly of what, and it all kind of is making sense, and you can, even the most cynical parts of me were like, no, I can see that, you know, I want to make this work, obviously. And then just near the time, you're like, okay, why have we not got this chunk? Why is that? Who is in charge of that? You know, and whatever. Not that I'm firing accusations all over, but I just remember this time where clearly getting nearer the date, everyone generally is getting tireder and tireder.
Yeah.
We're all working round the clock. No payment for anyone as well. Just added that. That's no secret. I remember, I think it was Rob, and Rob and I have laughed about this a lot after. And I can say, Rob, I can talk about this story with Rob. But I think we were making the construction that houses the sound engineer. So it's right in the middle of where all the people are watching the main stage.
Yeah.
You've got this little house, it's got to be sheltered, it's got all the sound desk and everything in it. Generally you want it to look kind of cool because it's a centerpiece almost for the whole space, as well as obviously the main stage. And I just remember like, the plan had gone from A to B to C to D, and I ended up looking and thought, oh my god, is that what we wanted? Is that what we designed? And it got to the point of like, and it's kind of fair enough. Everyone's like, oh, we just need something now. Just make it look kind of as good as you can. Rob was going to do some amazing painting. He is an artist.
Yes.
He's fantastic at it. And I think basically there was some bit where he wasn't quite doing his part. I didn't feel I had to do that bit because I was like, well, Rob, you should be doing that bit. And I just remember having along with loads of other people at different points in the day, had a little bit of an outburst. And just a bit of a, have you just done what you said you were going to do? What are you doing? But I'm saying that's, yeah, and that's very out of character for me, and I'm probably actually building up to be far more than it really was. But I think I just sort of exploded in a small way and then stormed. That's when I did storm off. Like I said, that was a one-time thing. It wasn't. And then not long after, we had laughed about it. And it was like, good. Because there was this slight joke that Rob will do, and he won't mind me saying it's shirk from doing any work. he knows that's his running, yeah. But anyway, yeah. So yeah, that was quite funny. That was a moment where I broke. There was maybe another moment where I broke, but I think it was the main stage moment.
Okay.
And so, do you remember? I know you arrived in the evening. Do you remember what it looked like?
Yes.
Yeah. And it was, I mean, to be fair, the end result I'm so proud of. Like, really, really happy. We said, let's make it look like a big manor house and like have it emerging from the trees, and it really did. Like, the photographs really made it look fantastic. Getting that so I'm going to call it a facade, is the bit that you can all see. Behind that was scaffolding and tarpaulin and, you know, lots of rope. But no, we'd drawn this idea out. I'd made these big windows and got them cut out of wood. And we had to have, I think there were 12, going a bit technical, 12 8x4 sheets of wood had to go face end on above each other onto this structure and go obviously upright. And we decided to do it in the Amish way. The Amish way of building is that you build it flat and then you pull it, you kind of winch it up 90 degrees. And we thought, you know, they've done it for years, we can try doing it like that. And so imagine that facade you saw, 6 metres high, 12 metres wide, and we got it up, and then we saw it go down again. Things got smashed, things got broken. Thankfully, the feel of the vibe and the branding was very forgiving to when things smashed, because it was like, oh, you know, crank it back together, and it's all part of the look. Thank God. That it's somewhere on a video, but I just remember thinking, what have I just, like, oh my God.
How is this
we had
going
like
wrong?
a Jeep pulling it up, and it was like, okay, no, and something had gone wrong, and it just all went flat in its face. And it was a big moment.
Oh.
And there were a few of us there who were like, I can't believe what we've just seen. Because it was days of work, of many man hours doing that, and then just got to do it again. But it was fine. But yeah.
Oh, bless you.
I've spoken a lot.
No, that was great. Sorry. Right, so FoundTown 1.
Yeah.
Success? I mean, it must
I
have
think
been,
so.
because you've done it again and then plan to do it again.
Yeah, and I think there was a huge buzz because
Yeah.
we got hundreds and hundreds of people.
Yes.
I think we really capped out at that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say a success. Let us know if you're watching and if you went. Let us know what you think. Because it probably was a bit ropey around the edges. I don't know. I think though, from a public point of view, you do just see the bits that are obviously
Of course you do. Yeah,
kind
yeah.
of work. You don't see the bits that are not working necessarily, unless they're really obvious. But no, everyone did really pull together.
Yeah.
It was fraught, like as all big events are.
Yeah.
Weddings are the same, aren't they? There's like everyone slightly gets stressed, and a similar thing.
Do you feel like you ran a festival as priority one, or was your mindset still on, I'm a member of a band at a festival?
This was the moment where I was like having a slight identity crisis. I was like, yeah, I have never set out wanting to do events.
Yeah.
Like, it's really nice knowing what you don't want to do in life, and I know. I knew before that. I know
Not
what
my
I
thing. Yeah.
And I did think like, are we all being sort of slightly railroaded into doing this thing? Yes, it's really cool, but is this what I want to be doing in my life? Like, you know, and I've now put months and months of this, and it's not a thing I would ever regret doing. Even the second one I don't regret doing, but like, it was starting to diversify in a way I was not.
Yeah.
I was not saying, yes, Dulcima wants to do that with her, you know, the one life she has on this planet.
And personally, it didn't really have any payback.
And that was the other thing.
Yeah.
It had.
Do you feel like it took away from your 2019 usual band structure?
Absolutely. I'm trying to, because to
the
me,
time allowed was a lot.
Yeah, because I'm trying to remember what. Well, I suppose it was just that. To be fair, we'd done years of the slight sort of hamster wheel.
Yes.
Go out, do festivals, come back. So it did bring a bit of relief to that. To be fair, and there was like on to bigger and better things. They're starting their own festival, and that kind of had something to it. It was just the. So yeah, no,
There are certain members of the band that had that entrepreneurial
definitely
need.
Definitely, yeah. I guess it was because I think it was a big success, and I think any negativity about FoundTown was obviously the stress that got there, but it took to make the thing happen, but also that even we all felt like we'd been taken for a ride afterwards. Like even the closest members of the band were like, okay, my payment now is this rewarded feeling of being able to walk down Country High Street and feel a bit of a celebrity for a month, you know, ish. And that's a flimsy payback. for the amount of months you just down tools and dive into someone else's kind of massive pipe dream.
Yeah.
Good dream,
Yeah.
brilliant dream, but it is like, yeah, what did I truly get out of that? And you can feel really selfish thinking that, but actually that's not selfish. That's everything. There was so many blurry lines and lots of grey areas with that kind of thing. It's
Well, it was your full-time job, yet still unpaid 10 years down the line.
Exactly.
This is
the festivals on a run were like, okay, well there is money happening somewhere, and there's a kind of tried and tested thing. Running your own means, it's like, oh, we
it's
don't
finger
know
in
if
the
it'll
air,
be
isn't it? Yeah, it's we've got to hope,
and it was really successful, and the numbers stacking up, it would have made a lot of money, and we didn't get. So it's just like,
Okay, so we won't talk FoundTown 2020 because we don't know if it existed and we don't know if there was a plan for it.
Yeah.
But these things happen so far in advance.
Yeah.
So when I joined the band summer of 2020, before then got involved with other things, and then it was actually FoundTown that started me in the band.
Yes.
Because so there was a lovely girl before who'd been part of the band behind the scenes for a while, and her situation meant that through 2020 she couldn't be in the house, and obviously all the times and no one could be in the house, but especially her situation was slightly different. So that was one of those times where, although I was in the house doing something completely different, members of the band would be working on FoundTown 2021.
Yeah.
We'll call it FoundTown 2. And it was, have a look at this. Oh, can you help with this? Oh, what do you think of this? And that's kind of how I sort of stepped into doing band admin accidentally, purely out of the fact of the other girl wasn't available.
Yeah.
Can you give us a hand with? And it was all FoundTown stuff.
Yeah.
And this was, August, September the year before.
Yeah.
And it was from that unfortunately this girl, obviously we went into lockdown 3 over the Christmas, and it just never seemed to let up. By which point I'd got so involved,
it was
sort of taken it on.
Yeah.
So 2021 plans were well on the way.
Yeah.
From before summer.
Yeah.
2020. And everyone was positive about doing it. It was going to be great. It was advertised.
Yes.
Tickets were sold.
Yes.
There was nothing stopping it. It was going to be great. And everybody always had this mentality of, this isn't going to last. Like, COVID's got to stop at some point.
Yeah.
The world will reopen. And I think everyone was very naive of, all of a sudden we'll just turn the switch off and the world will go back to normal.
Yeah.
And that's the bit that didn't happen, did it?
No.
And then by the early 2021, it was, well, we'll consider having some festivals in the summer. Well, if they're outdoor festivals, we'll cap at numbers.
Yeah.
And we were still maybe naively ploughing on.
Well, I think also like looking at what other people were doing, but they didn't know either. Like
No.
other festivals, that festival's on, that festival's going to brave it. And no one knew though.
No.
And it was
not at all.
But we were ploughing on.
We
That
were
is very
ploughing
us.
on. Yeah.
That was very us.
Yeah. And we had, the festival was more than ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
Aside from setting up, I think even the time was set out in the calendar, to be fair, of right at the beginning of
this month,
May or whatever it was going to be, because I think it was the end of June, the first one.
Yeah,
it was either end of June or early July.
So I know 2022 was end of June.
Yeah.
So
maybe it was exactly.
So maybe the year before it might have been June. We moved it from August to June.
Yes.
Anyway.
Yeah. And we were. I believe it got pulled quite late. Because some people have made bookings to stay in the area.
Oh my god, yeah. And travelling
and things like that.
Miles,
yeah.
And that feels awful doing that to people.
It's such a hard decision.
Yeah.
But
it was a weird set of rules suddenly that were applied. It applied to all of that. Yeah. That was such a strange time.
And it's heartbreaking spending the last 8 months doing it.
I know.
Like, this is all you've done for it not to happen. So 2021 unfortunately got pulled.
I think for the best. I always think that
now,
definitely the best decision ever.
Knowing what we know now, 100%.
Yeah.
But all of this was ready to go, and it never sort of got dropped. It was right. This now just becomes 2022.
Yeah, and in a way that
We'll
it
roll with
made
it.
2022 easier.
Yeah.
In some respects, because it was like I remember things had to be recut and made for big structures and things like that, and there was this kind of slight, like, you know,
Yes,
that's done. Like,
we've done this. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I knew the background of the festival,
yeah,
paperwork wise, and obviously working with, you know, the band members that were developing the festival, and you know, Raf and Simon Toy and stuff. I then left the band.
oh yeah.
So before the festival actually happened, so I left in February 2022.
Yeah.
So as I left, I offered anything and everything.
Yeah.
I mean, I offered to do my job free of charge.
Free.
I just needed routine
Yeah.
of my own.
It'd be a bit of a mad.
It was a
madness.
3 years, yeah. But the next thing I kind of knew was, I mean, it was happening, tickets were on sale, and I'd booked the time off work. In my head, I was so happy to help, so desperately wanted to be there. I'd done a lot of the legwork and all that sort of thing. And yeah, all of a sudden, sort of the festival was upon us.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk festival setup? Because I wasn't really then, from that point, a part of it.
So
you've gone out.
Yeah.
So
I mean, sorry.
sorry, I was just going to fill in the gap there, because you'd done a season, a short winter season in Zermatt over the new year. You'd come back, they'd all stayed.
Yes. Oh my
And
God,
then almost came back especially for it, because they ran later into the season.
I think this was clearly the time my brain was so departed from everything, from my past.
Yeah.
in a healthy bid for freedom kind of way.
Yeah.
Which was great. I didn't want to leave anyone high and dry, so I was still going to do anything I was obliged to do and had booked to do. But yeah, so the months leading up to FoundTown, I was in that. Well, everyone's been in it. I'm sure everyone's had it. After a big breakup, because it kind of was like a big change of life. You're refinding yourself. You kind of I was in that headspace. Thankfully, lots of the FoundTown setup had been sort of in motion from the months before, which was really useful. But I did sort of get away with doing much less that time. And I remember making a point of, like, you know, in my sort of, in this headspace I was in, right, I'm going to do a dress shop kind of thing. And I made a thing that it didn't really matter what it was, it just had to be a bit of Dulcima. I just wanted to see, like, something that I could say represented me.
Yeah.
And so you're right, I came back from Zermatt early, and then I had gone out early June, very, very early June, to Italy for a friend's wedding.
Yeah.
And the festival was happening at the end of June. I think it was end of June, because I had it in my calendar. It was like, okay, you're going to have a lovely time in Italy, you're going on holiday, friend's wedding, beautiful, but you do have to come back and build this thing.
Yeah.
And that to me was, I think I remember, like, that was a huge pull, because it was like, no, I want to build my little set, my little stall, basically. And shall we go into this?
I don't know, do you want to? Go on.
Well, it was really hard to come back from Italy.
Yes, it was.
I met someone very special, and then thought, I mean, at the time I had no idea how special, and then, so it was, God, FoundTown.
Yeah. And I think, but the mentality of it was, not to keep harping on, but for the 5 years. So 2019, band life is hard.
Yeah.
And had been for a couple of years.
Yes, already.
2020 was almost, we'll stick together, we'll get through this.
Yeah.
And you did get through it, and it was bloody hard work.
Yeah.
2021 somehow had gone from, that's what band life was, to a completely different type of band life to 2020. 2021, no one was sure what they were doing. The cracks that 2020 had covered was still very much there.
Yeah.
And people were almost looking for a way out.
Yeah.
And not just you.
No, that's true.
That it was a whole thing.
Yeah.
And I think as a group, you clung to the fact that you were still a group, and there were almost excuses. I
Yeah.
don't know if I'm putting words in people's
No,
mouths
no,
here,
no.
but you know, oh, we're not doing anything because it's COVID. Oh, we're not doing anything because there's no festival season.
Mhm.
But the band is still there.
Yeah.
But actually, these 5 people had kind of already dispersed behind the scenes.
We'd given it all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there was
COVID
no way
the final.
back. Yeah. FoundTown for 2021 was cancelled, so there was no,
Yeah.
pull there.
No.
The tour was on, and if we're completely honest with each other, I don't think anybody really wanted to do it. It was there because of the album.
Yeah.
You committed to an album, the investors wanted an album, the album needed doing,
Yeah.
and that was all that was keeping the band together.
Yeah.
I'm probably speaking really,
No,
really out of
that's
turn.
true. I'm just trying to,
but-
because the tour was 2022.
No, it was 21 that got cancelled.
Oh, that was a whole,
Yeah.
that's the whole thing. Yes, you're right. So, no, you're right. And there was that tour, and I remember thinking, we need to get this over and done with. And this idea of postponing it was kicking it down the road. And I was like, well, yeah, but now we're not, you're not doing a nice, neat finish. There's no big end of the bang. You're just dribbling it out.
Yeah.
And the postponing the tour, or at least cancelling it so last minute, was, we've digressed, I know,
Yes.
about this, but that was not a group decision at all.
No, but it was for the right reason. So I wouldn't want to sit here and say,
No, we shouldn't. We shouldn't have done
because-
it.
yes, there were still too many restrictions,
Yeah.
and that came from Midnight Mango as well. Your
No,
booking
that's true,
agents
yeah.
and stuff. So the decision was in hindsight, a good decision.
Yeah.
And you still owed the investors and the fans the album that had been promised for so many years.
Yeah.
And it was it's part and parcel. If you're going to do an album, you wanted to tour.
Yeah.
But like you say, it was being kicked down the line. And actually, you could have all come back from Zama in 2020 and gone, we're done.
Yeah.
And you'd have almost been a bit more painless.
It wasn't so dragging
Because you
out.
were done.
Yeah.
But
Sorry.
all the way back. So by the time FoundTown 22 was on, it kind of felt a bit tick box exercise.
Yeah,
We're doing it because we've postponed it. We've said we were doing it.
Absolutely, it was
do it.
Absolutely, and it was. In some ways, it made it, because it was tried and tested. We weren't trying to change anything too much from the few years before. I suppose to me as well, it's so funny thinking of the first experience compared to the last experience. Because the first one I was like head down, hen in, like getting involved, roll sleeves up, pure muscle, getting it done. The 2022 FoundTown, I did just sort of breeze in and breeze out. I have to admit, and part of that I feel like it was kind of collectively agreed. No, it's okay.
You'd learn.
You've
like
done so
you didn't
much,
gain
just-
anything from the first one.
Yeah, there was.
So
a lot of
I'm
that.
going to do my own thing. You want me on stage? I am still Coconut Butterfields,
Yeah.
and that
Yes.
was a massive thing.
Yes.
Was that meant something?
Yeah.
So
It was-
you were
if you're
going to be
gonna
part of
sell
that band.
Yeah.
You're going to be front of stage.
And it's selling, because FoundTown was part and parcel of the name, and it was like, well, if you're, I've had 10 years of that name.
Yes.
Don't try and just swap out, because I can't remember now how much I had to fight that cause. But yeah, it was like, no. have me on stage, please.
Yes.
And but yeah, no.
But yes, you did your own thing.
Yeah, there was an element of just departing.
Which was good for you, I think.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, definitely. It was really fun. I remember it really fondly. Absolutely. Really,
Good.
Really well.
Yeah.
Because although, and again, by that time, we all knew each other's characters anyway, but there are all these peripheral other characters that come in and get involved with the festival. Certain mothers and friends, boyfriends, girlfriends, whatever. And it is great. Obviously, everyone rubs each other up the wrong way at one point. I don't need to bang on about all this now, but it is the funny part.
Yes.
Especially looking back, and you think, we did get through it, and it was kind of hilarious, and everyone's got their own little stories of their experiences, and it was really fun.
And the thing is,
funny.
as a group collective, and I don't just mean the 5 people of the band, but particularly, Raph,
Yes.
Simon and Toya, and like you say, there were all sorts of other people behind the
Loads
scenes.
of extras.
The one good thing about the band mentality and how much you'd grown in 10 years and knew people was you did have this group of people to call on. And as that collective, you got shit done.
Oh my goodness, yes.
You know, I can't fault the running of it, or like there are pockets of things that go wrong, like you say, but it was organised, it was what you wanted it to be. Everything did get done. It's, you know, it's a running joke of things being like they happen in this industry. It's not just that band, or that festival. I do look back on it fondly and think it was a well-oiled machine. None of that was to do with me. I'm going to put that out there. My involvement in the festival was actually really quite hurtful. I don't know if that's going to be the right words, but so, like I said, I'd left before. Emotionally to a certain extent. I'd left obviously in February. FoundTown was still happening, and I had offered till I was blue in the face. I was happy to be involved. I just couldn't do it day to day anymore. I was done, and that was the same for FoundTown. It was, you know, I'm here. Let me help. What can I do? I've booked annual leave to be there. Let me help. And you don't get, it becomes either expected or not wanted, and there's an element of rejection. Because there'll be a couple of people who this does work who will completely understand this, but you don't leave the band. No, that's not up to you.
That's so true.
So when you do,
that is so true. I've never
there's a big red cross on you.
Like that. But it's true.
So you kind of, it's that attitude of, I'm trying to be very careful what I say, it's the attitude of, no,
you're blackballed.
Yeah, we don't want you. No, absolutely not.
I didn't realise it was like that for you.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised.
No.
I hate that it was like that.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised.
But in my head I was like, actually I've put in a hell of a lot of legwork for this, and I want to be a part of it, and I know I can be useful. And that's not trying to put my...
No, there were bits you were, that were very much your...
And I remember I booked this time off, and I'd said time and time again, right, I'm off from like the Wednesday or whatever before.
Full days.
I'm off from, like, let me know what to do. And I was, nothing had come back at all. And then I arrived, and I had spent my day off that I booked as annual leave to help on the festival. And the lack of organisation for me is anything that's not communicated. I'm a communicator, everyone needs to know what's going on, yada yada yada. And I went to my friend's house, I think I had lunch with like her and her daughter, just enjoyed my day off. And then I got this phone call at like 3:30 in the afternoon. Oh, hiya, can you go and do this? And it's like,
you didn't realise you were on call.
Okay. And it's like something I could have done at 9 o'clock in the morning. Shouldn't have been doing it at 3:30 for a start.
No.
Driving through Canterbury in bloody school traffic to do this job. Where was this communication before? Why was this not organised? And you just want to shake people and be like, come on.
You've given every single hint of like, well, you've said outright, tell me what to do and we'll do it.
And then you arrive on site after I'd done this job, and there's so much that needs doing. And you think, I've been sat on my arse all day. And then I feel bad that I haven't just rocked up and been like, right, put me to work. And absolutely probably should have done. But also,
that is fair
not
to not do that. Most
like,
people would not do that. You'd expect to be sort of, especially when you've been offering for so long.
Yeah, and then you're pissed off because you're still there at midnight in the pitch black doing stuff.
Yeah.
I could have been doing 12 hours ago.
Yeah.
And that's when it annoys me, and you think,
absolutely.
And I think, I'm so glad I washed my hands of this.
Yeah. That's the thing.
Because there's only so much you can.
Yeah.
Oh, infuriating.
Yeah.
So then I forced myself to people. And so the next day I'm like, right, I will be here at 7 o'clock in the morning. We are going to get this done. And I know I need to change my attitude. It's probably my attitude more than anything else. But it's
I think you're right.
That's a cloud over it for me.
Yeah.
Was, should I have just jumped in? Yes, potentially, probably. But also just communicate.
No, it's
so hard.
Completely understandable. How
infuriating.
Yeah.
But anyway, it was up and running. And
it was up and running. But yeah.
Not about my involvement.
No, it was a massive thing. And yeah, everyone.
All good fun.
Puts in so much.
And everyone did. Everyone was working really hard, and it got done, which is the main thing.
Yeah.
So, festival itself.
Yeah.
You were in the shop?
I was in the shop. I was selling t-shirts.
Yeah.
Did quite a good job there.
Yes.
It was quite fun.
Yeah.
I was right next to the chapel stage because we
Yes.
were in a little woodlandy area, which was kind of more
Lovely.
chilled out vibe.
Yeah.
And so that was actually really lovely. Got to see, well, overhear some music, but also just, it was actually really nice to have my own little haunt,
Yeah.
my own little area, and there was also kind of a gin and tonic bar kind of
Nice,
opposite as
yeah.
well. It was all just very idyllic,
Yeah.
really idyllic. And then every now and then you'd venture out into the sort of main bit, which is also good, but just I like to be in my little cubby hole. Also, I
That's nice.
technically had to, well, I had to be in my cubby hole to man
Yeah.
stalls and sales of t-shirts and things like that. There was a mother and daughter who'd come all the way from basically Wales, and they were so sweet, and they took over when I was like, I was just going to stop, like shut the shop at about 7 in time for me to go and get ready for the gig and big play, and they just said, no, give it to us, trust us, we do markets all the time, let us take over. And I just
Love them. Yes. Yeah. Brilliant.
So yeah, and that's, I suppose that's part of it. It just brings out this lovely side of everyone, and yeah.
And it was nice for you to have a role,
Yeah,
because that's what's hard by this point in the band, is where do you fit?
yeah.
Does your face fit?
Mm-hmm.
Actually, if I stick myself in the corner, I'm doing something.
Okay.
Yes, it might be for me,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm doing something.
Proudly with a big smile
yeah.
as well, because it was something I'm like, well, I want to push this. Like,
Yeah.
Especially at that time, it was really a colourful little bit of, yeah. But you're right, there is that big decision of what, especially if you're the act that's playing in the evening, and especially at that festival we were headlining. So
Yeah.
it was like, if I wasn't doing that, and I don't know what the rest of everyone generally probably would have just walked around, but there is something to be said for not showing yourself and showing, for not being available. This sounds really bad, but it's, you don't see Kylie Minogue wandering around in a festival she's playing at. Not, not often anyway. But it's kind of, not to liken myself to Kylie. Sorry,
Go for
I
it.
didn't mean to do that. But there is also, though, massive part of that is you don't want to expend all of your energy throughout the day chatting. Everyone's so lovely, everyone wants a hug, everyone wants to talk, and if you do that for hours before your set, you have nothing left to give on stage, so you then sort of have to kind of hide away back. So the other option is to hide away backstage. I had this nice kind of easy, put myself in the quieter space, and I loved it.
Yeah,
really loved it. And then when backstage was very fun actually. It was a really nice vibe. That was done very nicely. Like, it was calm. It was predominantly calm actually.
Yeah,
wasn't it?
no, it was really
For that
nice.
reason.
Yeah,
And
it worked well.
yeah,
Overall, I mean, it was a success.
absolute success.
Enjoyed it. The second one more than the
I
first one?
enjoyed the second one more. I was in such a different space mentally and emotionally, as we know. I was all sort of excited and like, met someone new. that really did have a big thing to be said. That changed the way I was around.
I think you had
Everyone.
2 things to focus on. So
Yeah.
for years and years and years, your focus has been the band, and then all of a sudden you've had these few years of like,
No man's
I'm
land,
lost.
basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you almost sort of had this awakening of, oh, actually, I'm going to concentrate on my fashion and my clothes,
Yeah.
and I've got my new man.
And it was that, really early days. So it was
Yeah.
kind of all excitable and like,
Oh, it still is.
It still is too. It's definitely. But yeah, you know what I mean. It was like, oh, he's phoning. Oh.
Yeah. She's still like that.
But the one thing that I do remember thinking, even after in the middle of it, where maybe we were going to do the 2021 one, I did think, I know right now I do not have it in me to do this every year. And I did think, are we going to try and promise this every year? Am I going to get roped into? And I was thinking, the new Dulcima was thinking, the emerging Dulcima rather, was like you don't have to be roped into doing anything.
No.
Like, you can forge your way. You don't have to be told what to do. And yeah, I do remember thinking that it's going to be hard work for everyone, and they will all burn out.
Yeah.
I do. That was so. FoundTown was this a bit like Lounge of the, didn't get to the extent Lounge of the Farm did, but these sort of brilliant moments they are unsustainable.
Yeah.
Well, they just can't quite keep going unless there's a huge force and everyone can get, the repayment and feel like it was
But
really
it's
worth
such a chunk of the calendar.
It's such
It never stopped.
Yeah.
There was always something to be
Yeah.
doing and working on.
Exactly.
But
But no, great memories, just perfect left there.
and I agree. I think I'm glad I did it.
Yeah.
I'm glad I came back. I think the next day I did the whole forcing myself on stupidly because I'm an idiot. So obviously you've all had a long run up to getting this ready, which I fully appreciate.
Yeah.
And I'd said to people after the main headline, right, what time we're getting here tomorrow? I've got one more day off. Happy to help, absolutely fine. Yep, we'll be here early. Yep, I'll be here early. Like 7ish. Yep, yeah, definitely.
This is for the pack down.
This is for the pack down.
Yeah.
And I rocked up at 7:15. Did most of backstage on my own, and there was another lad that was helping. Again, one of these friends that had kind of been pulled in, and he kind of awoke out of his tent at 9 o'clock, and I was like, right, Bins, you're doing this, you're doing this, you're doing this. And it got to 11 and I still hadn't seen sight or sound of anyone. And I'd done all of backstage and I just went,
solid.
I've done my bit.
Yeah, definitely. Yes, you
No,
have.
that's it.
Yeah.
And I think that was, as much as I'd already left, that was the bit for me where I just went,
No.
I'm proud of myself.
Yeah, you did.
We did it.
You did your chunk.
Boom.
Yeah.
I can't do it anymore.
No.
I'm checked out.
And that's the thing. It's
Yeah.
exactly that. It's the kind of burnout that at one point or another everyone gets. Like everyone as well. Like even those who loved every second of it, they'll feel burnt out by it afterwards, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh.
But no, it was good.
Yeah.
It's in the memory bank. Probably never to
It won't return. It won't, I don't think. Unless someone else
be very
completely
surprised.
separate takes
Yeah.
it on. But it's fine.
Yeah.
It was fun.
And I'm thinking of